is the solution then? So he says, what do you like the most? He says, believe it or not, I like my buffalo the most. I should like my wife and children, but I'm a farmer. I spend more time with my buffalo than my wife. So he says, I like buffalo. He says, okay, that will do. So go into that cave and sit there for 3 days. All you have to do is think that you are a buffalo. So 3 days later, I'll open the entrance to the cave and we'll see what happens. So he does that. And 3 days later, he says, okay, come on out. He says, I cannot come out. He says, why? My horns are too big. At the end of 3 days, he started believing. So all these beliefs that we have, these beliefs we pick up here and there because somebody said so. But we never analyze from our perspective. And our thinking, our independent thinking has to come in there. Otherwise, it's lakir ke fakir. We just keep doing. Write down 1,000,000 times Ram, so you're going to get moksh. And you believe everything, and the life goes on. So, the life is independent. It's going to go on with you or without you. So, don't believe that life is here to give you anything. And you are not here to receive anything from life. You are here to just dance and see the miracle of life and enjoy the miracle of life. Just see it. For the time being, all this inflow and outflow of the molecules that is happening, it just happens to be to create that tree the same way it has created you, the same way it has created a rock or a robin flower. Everything is created and everything is dynamic. Everything is changing. And whatever is there right now is the end result of millions and millions of molecules transforming itself. And why even talk about molecules? So much energy going in and out of molecules are being created, molecules are being destroyed, galaxies are exploding. All these things happening just to create this illusion for us. And in that, we have to see God. There was a beautiful story of a Chinese emperor. He had two great painters in his court. And both the painters were praised so heavily. And nobody could say who is better. So king wanted to test their capacity. He says, all right, I'm going to give you a theme to print. And you both paint, So you both paint on that theme. All right? And so what's the topic? So the topic says peace and tranquility. So both painters started painting. The first painter came back after a few weeks and he painted a traditional, a typical, a beautiful lake out in the mountains and where there is not a soul there, just literal beauty there and not even a ripple on the lake. And it was traditional and it spoke of peace and tranquility. And king said, this is good, but let's look at the second painting. So the second painting was a roaring thunderstorm kind of waterfall. Huge, dynamic, like Mount Morenci waterfall, thunderous. And there was a birch tree that was right next to that. Beautiful, arching birch tree. On the top of the birch tree was a nest. In the nest was a robin, beautiful robin, with its eyes closed and lost in tranquility. So, the tranquility we see in the middle of all this roaring chaos.
Right.
That's a real realization of peace. Only when we realize what we have inside is going to wake us up. And then we're going to see the peace and tranquility in this changing world. Yes, it is changing, but that should not be a depressing fact. It should be a rewarding thing for us to realize the change, because the change is consciousness. And when you, without making any comments, without making any judgments about people or objects or situations, we keep on living, and that dynamism gives us the freedom from the choices, and that dynamism gives us the pleasure. So we had one patient, right? So we're talking about the beautiful the winter that we had, the nice and warm winter. Oh, this kind of winter I can live with all the time, no problem.
To go to Florida.
Right. I said, so that means bad winter you can't live with? No, I I grew up here. I mean, so for 30 some years she lived these winters complaining, and now one winter she likes it. I bet she's gonna hate the next winter, maybe too warm or something. I don't know. So we respond to the outside changes all the time. We complain about things all the time and makes ourselves miserable. We cannot do anything about it. I said, what can you do about it? Supposing it was 0 degrees instead, nothing. But complain anyway. I remember
only adjust our thermostat.
Yeah, right. The thermostat is here. So I had another girl who came in, 29-year-old morning. So she comes for a physical, and she has a lot of tattoos all over. Nice girl. So I said, any more tattoos coming up? She said, no, I'm tired now. I'm fed up. In fact, I'm trying to have these tattoos removed. I said, why? She said, well, I don't look like a lady in this one. She's 29 something. He said, I had them done earlier. I don't know why I got them done, and I got influenced by the friends and this and that. And I said, but she had some tattoos on the forearm. I said, what other tattoos you have? I said, well, I have some other on the upper arms. I said, let me see. It was a beautiful lotus with the flames coming out. It was really nicely done. It was a piece of art. So I said, why do you want to have it removed? He says, so because now I have really come up in life, and I really think that this does not represent me. And I'm a ladylike, and I look like a crazy teenager now. So I want to change it. I said, so first you were hooked on decorating your body, and now you're still hooked on the body to have it removed. I said, real you doesn't even come into the picture. So you lived for the body then, you're living for the body now. I said, do you know the meaning of lotus? Oh, it's a flower. I said, but it's more than just a flower. There are a lot of spiritual significance to the lotus. I said, so I explained to her about all the chakras, right? I said, Sahasrara chakra
is lotus.
It supposedly is 1,000 petals, lotus. And that represents the freedom from all your lower forms and lower beliefs and lower existence. And it's the highest form of existence you can have at the lotus level. And not only that, the leaves which float on the water, they do not take any water. If the water droplets fall on it, it has a special oil on it, so the water just rolls out. That means this society, the world, the material life should not affect your behavior. You should be independent and have your own existence without being affected by the surroundings. And also the lotus grows out of mud. The mud is dirty, and yet it makes a beautiful living, and it lifts itself out of also your lowest chakra is your material life, is mud, is dirt. That's where horizontal life comes in. Anyone can do that. Higher level of life is higher chakras you may reach. So this is your goal to reach. I said you should keep that lotus.
She won't remove now.
No, now she will have 10 more of them.
What was her reaction?
She was good. She said, I'm not going to have it removed.
Wait for next visit. Lotus.
Shrenik bhai, before you go further, only one thing I like to hear. All our spiritual rituals, that's why we use Kamal Kakdi.
Right.
That's the reason we use it, because it's the highest level of form.
True. So she says, yeah, I'm not going to have it removed. So and she does yoga and meditation. I was surprised. She says that it's an American girl, but she says, I do yoga and meditation. And I said, now you put that lotus right between your eyebrows. That's going to be your way of meditating. And this is going to help you. So materiality never disappears from our mind. And that's why we have problems. And we believe that that's all it's there. And the materiality has so much control on our mind that we never think of our existence beyond the material life. That's why I said that with the questions, when they come in, they come at the material aspect. The answers probably is better to take from within. Because a lot of times the discussions at the material level may not make any sense. Because by the time I say something, the things change again. Look at all the Shastras we believe in. The Shastras have been written probably in thousands of years back, and originally in a very enlightened state. But by the time the interpretations happen, And then over the thousands of years, one person interpreted such a way, then the next person interprets, and then the next person, and the next person. By the time it comes to you, it's so corrupted that what do you believe in it anymore? And yet the consciousness that was present in Mahavirs and Buddhas is the same consciousness that's within you. So why can't you do the same thing? Instead of following somebody else's path. See, there is a big difference between science and religion. See, religion is totally independent process. Now, whether Krishna was there or not, Buddha would not have any problem. If Buddha wanted to copy, he would have been walking around with morpich and bansuri in his hand, right? He didn't. He developed his own thinking. So we all have to develop our own thinking. We can't copycat anybody, not even our guru. We have to have our own thinking. But in science, it's a different story. Einstein could not exist without Newton.
Right.
Newton made the basic fundamental research. Based on that research, the research goes on. And the Einstein is not the end. So there are more minds are going to work on, again, based on the research. So there is a hierarchy. So science is a different story. You have to rely on the outside knowledge that somebody has acquired. But when you go within, who is Jain and who is Buddha, who is Muslim, who is Hindu? Nobody, nothing. All those beliefs we have to drop. Those are the horns that we're carrying around. We cannot get out of the caves, right? So, in a hypnotic state, which is we are under the spell of materiality, and that's what they describe in Sanskrit as mood state. It's a murta.
Vajagovindam.
Vajagovindam. Moodmato. So, murta is something we all have decided to sleep. Even though we have a power to wake up, even though it's 12 o'clock and the sun is in the middle of the sky, yet we have decided to sleep. Even though we have capacity to wake up and our spiritual being is calling us, but instead of waking up, we have decided to stay asleep. We are under the spell of materiality, just like the horns of the buffalo. So, the problem is the life goes on, and this is the only chance we have to evolve. Once the life comes to an end, we have no chance anymore. And once you are in the state in between the life, there is no state of evolution. The evolution takes place only with our clear understanding of the illusion that we're living in. Our dynamic interaction with the life is the laboratory where all the principles and theories can be applied. And we have to live this life. We have to make choices, and we have to learn how to make the proper choices and the right choices and go ultimately in the direction of consciousness. So, unless we do all that, we are stagnating. So, a lot of times, like I said, the questions come before me, and answers to be given out are so, they turn into lots and lots and lots of discussions. But all that can be solved just simply by going within. And that's what I want you to realize is the internal state is a state of happiness. And that's the lotus with 1,000 petals is hidden within us. We have to explore it. By teaching each other, we're just helping each other a little bit here and there. We are giving the guidepost, okay, it's in that direction. But the finger is not the final destination. Finger is just to point it out. So one of the questions is, how can I win over the mind? Mind is full of vrittis. Vrittis generates the thoughts. Thoughts are the mind. Once we realize this whole thing is an illusion, where is mind? So where is winning over the mind? Once we say that I want to win over the mind, we are accepting the existence of the mind. That's our belief is saying that the mind exists. The whole thing is an illusion. When we realize that, and that's the only way we're going to realize is going within, that there is a state that exists beyond the mind. But talking about it does not do it, right? So, again, another illusion that we went through, that patient of mine whose mother was dying at the age of 83. All these imaginary connections that we live by. And I talked to him, and in 10-15 minutes I made him believe that even he doesn't exist. If he doesn't exist, then what's the purpose of having all the relations around? I said, it's an illusion. I said, what if with the DNA I prove that you and your mother were not related? Now we were having intellectual discussion, not to insult anybody. So if we realize that we are just, it's a belief. It's your belief, and at the same time your mom's belief that you are her son, and that's why she did all these things that she did for you. And then you are believing that's your mom, and you keep loving her because she did all these things for you. Just because a woman happened to walk around where you were born, you believe her, your mom. So on this belief, all your life, 50, 60 years have passed, and now the relationship is breaking. Now whose fault is that? If the relation was created in the mind, we believe the materiality, and we breaking our connection with that materiality. Now we're getting affected. So where is the problem? The problem is in believing that the material life is the real life. So avidya, that's the avidya. So vidya is the spiritual knowledge. So that we have to go within to obtain that.
That's why they say, Vasudeva Kutumbakam.
Right?
The whole Vishwa is my kutumba.
Absolutely, yeah, right. So there is, why limit just to one
person.
woman?
Yeah, not one person.
If you want to suffer the grief of everybody.
Yep. Vasudeva Kutumbakam.
So all these beliefs are really tying us down like a pashu. Pashu means to tie down. And that tying down makes us hypnotized. And we believe in that particular aim or particular belief. One other question I had was, say, I am a Jain. How can I marry someone who believes in Dada Bhagwan? Again, he says, those are inferior people. I said, looks like you are inferior to them. So beliefs makes us inferior. So stupid questions coming, right? What's that?
No, my mother was in the hospital with a pacemaker on the
Right.
weekend. So the nurse was taking care of her. She was Indian.
Right.
But she was from Tamil.
Right.
She was Indian Christian.
Right.
So during the conversation, next day, my mother was talking to her. She said, "But next time you come to India, come to me." She said, "No. My parents have always taught me not to go to any Hindu's house or not to go to any Hindu temple.
There you go.
Forbidden."
Right, exactly.
I said, okay. And then imagine. Finally, last week I went to this Marsipani temple, but temple was beautiful.
Right.
So she was like saying that, I broke away that tradition
right,
of
right,
visiting
right.
Hindus.
Exactly.
Maybe she doesn't know what is her origin.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah, how she
Just
got
because-
to
They were
India or
Christian,
whatever.
No, just because you were born in a Christian family, you believe you are Christian.
Maybe she was born or originally her parents, grand, they were.
Of course they were Hindu.
Of course, they were
But
converted.
again, that also is a belief.
Yeah.
Believing you are a Hindu also is a belief.
I know a lot of Malayali Christians.
Right.
Their ancestry, they all still have temples in
Of
Kerala.
course, yeah.
And then they still do the offerings. It's
Right.
just that they practice Christianity at home.
Right.
But because their ancestors have traditionally supported these Hindu temples,
Sure.
they still go and
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
it.
It's
So
kind of extreme,
people do
because,
exist like
I've
that.
been
But
forbidden
They
to
got
go
the
to temple.
benefit of that coming to America.
But
That's why
only-
they don't want to change.
yeah, now it's different.
Yeah, no, they got
Indian
the-
religions, they say all dharmas are same. No other religion will say that.
The problem is even worse than that. The thing is that when you realize that you are not Christian and you are Hindu and then I should be Hindu, but that even that belief is wrong too. And before Hinduism started, what were there?
I'll have an incident too. It's talk about religion, it talk about nationalities too. See, I came to this country 10, 11 years ago, and I was doing home-based speech therapy services. So I used to go to a lot of houses in New York where there are a lot of Pakistanis. So when I went in there, one guy, particularly one father, he cornered me and he said, "Please don't discriminate my child just because he's a Pakistani and you're Indian. It's only the governments that fight. People don't fight." And then I said, "Why do you even think like that?" I said, "To me, it's a child with a problem. No matter what, I'll do that."
True.
So it's like...
So we are gripped by this materiality so much and the identifications and we spend lives and lives and lives after lives and come up with basically nothing, and we keep on going in the same cycle. So we fight for our beliefs, we grieve for our beliefs, we become anxious for our belief, and we lose our enjoyment that we could sync with the dynamism that's going around us. There is only one religion, and that's consciousness. There is nothing else there. The rest is all garbage. Whether you read this scripture or that scripture doesn't matter. How should it change? If it influences to believe you into something, then it's not even a scripture. You should walk away from it. Anything that this is all there is and nothing else, then that's something wrong with that.
Murari Bapu says very beautiful explanation on that. That there was a small, what you call is a religious place. So they thought that let us put Shiv here. Then everybody said, those who don't believe in Shiv, they will not come here. Then say, let's put Krishna. Those who don't believe in Krishna, they will not. So they started contemplating, so many. Finally they decided, let's make a pub here, everybody will come. No Magazmari, no gods.
Irish yoga.
Irish yoga. Make it a pub.
Well, then English would have problems.
This is Murari Babu's example.
Right.
I tell you, not
But
mine.
that reflects how much we are believing in the materiality. The materiality ties us down. And when it ties us down, that's our animal nature. The pashu is tying us down.
That shows up.
So the thing is that the reality is something else. Like I said, the tree doesn't exist. The existence of a tree is just an illusion created temporarily for us. And when we realize this dynamic process, we realize the dynamism of the consciousness. They say Heraclitus was a great philosopher from Greece, and he said that you cannot step into the same river twice.
Say that again.
You cannot step into the same river twice.
No, I mean,
By the time you come back to step in, the river has changed. And you have changed too. So,
That's what Maya is.
right.
What you see is not true.
Right. So
It's past.
when you say you cannot step in, first of all, the river has flown and you have changed too. So there is no happening. Whatever is happening now is the only thing that is happening. Rajneesh even goes even beyond that. He says you cannot even step into the same river twice. Because, he says by the time your foot will touch the top layer of the river, the water is continuously flowing. And by the time you reach to the middle of the layer of the water, a lot of water has flown already. And by the time you touch the ground, a lot of water has flown again. It's the same river. You cannot even set foot once. Forget about second time. So it's just to make a point of dynamism and changing that is happening in life. So let's not get stuck on the materiality, because materiality is growing beliefs.